All right, we're going to get started. I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's a virtual regular meeting of the Hamilton County Board of County Commissioners, May 21st of 2020. We will start, like we always do, with silent prayer leading into the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'm going to move that we approve of the minutes of the previous session.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Sommer-Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Thank you. We are going to hear three updates today. One from Greg Custerman, one from Nick Crosley, and one from Diana Christie. There is a lot going on in Hamilton County right now. So, and I've asked them all to give us an abbreviated version given the number. So Greg, let's lead with you. And if you could provide us with the numbers and then just high level information, that would be great.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. So far statewide, we are up to 29,436 cases of COVID-19 with hospitalizations at 5,198 and deaths totaling 1,603. Looking here in Hamilton County, we are at 2,187 cases, including within the cities of Cincinnati, Norwood, and Springdale. Hospitalizations are 408 and deaths are 117. In our jurisdiction, as you know, we track those recovered. Of our 1,144 cases, 501 of those have recovered. The big items that we're working on right now are just working through enforcement and working with our facilities to make sure they're opening up appropriately. I'll stop there and leave it to you if you have any additional questions or areas that you would like me to cover in more depth.
Thank you. I do want to note that Greg is going to be on the briefing tomorrow to talk about some of the orders coming down from the governor and the health commissioner at the state level, in addition to some on-the-ground information related to restaurant openings, retail openings, kind of how that's going on the ground throughout the county. So, commissioners, are there any questions or comments for Greg?
Madam President, I'd just like to ask Greg, the inside dining for the restaurants start when exactly?
That is today.
Okay, so how did the outside dining go?
For our jurisdiction, it went extremely well. We had, we did have complaints, although the majority of the complaints from the ones that I looked at were of employees inside the facility not wearing masks.
Okay.
Concerned about their safety.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I have no questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thanks, Victoria. So, Greg, thank you so much for all that you're doing. Please tell your team that we're grateful for all that they are doing. I feel like you are about to ramp up again with the restaurants opening today. Although I think some people are very cautious and anxious about going out. So maybe that'll help a little bit. But anyways, thanks for everything, and we appreciate the update.
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioners.
All righty. Nick Crosley, let's get an update from EMA.
We continue with our mission to work with our community partners, nonprofits, the hospitals, the healthcare providers. I sent you numbers a few minutes ago. We're doing some other research on what we've been doing over the last about 3 months. It's a pretty impressive distribution system we've created pretty quickly. Won't get into the numbers, but I had not realized we distributed that much equipment across the organization.
I think you should get into the numbers, Nick. They're impressive numbers.
Well, I mean, for example, and this is a mix of, so we've gotten distributions from the states. We started out, our first ever distribution was from the Strategic National Stockpile at the request of Commissioner Kesterman. From that, there is no more Strategic National Stockpile, but the state continues to purchase resources and send them to the counties, as well as the county is buying personal protective equipment and other sanitary supplies. And then, of course, we had quite a few donations from our residents of Hamilton County that we've been able to distribute. So from all that, some examples are we've distributed almost 130,000 N95s and KN95s, which are the high-end mask used in a lot of medical environments, nursing homes, things like that. Surgical masks, which are the ones a lot of people are using. I saw Alex Linzer on here earlier with one on. 365,000 of those have been distributed so far across the community. 51,000 regular masks, 27,000 gowns, 65,000 pieces of eye protection. So it just boggles the mind. And then we're continuing again planning for a multi-month, if not till the end of the year, process for this distribution. And so, you know, this wouldn't be possible without working with the Board of County Commissioners, Administrator Aludo, the county purchasing department's done a phenomenal, led by Joanne Kramer, and the public health departments and everybody. So it's just been phenomenal distribution system we've set up. And then we continue, the state has actually done a bit of a better job of focusing their distribution and their purchasing. So we're getting consistent twice-a-week deliveries, which means we're consistently putting out equipment across the spectrum. And then, of course, we keep a certain amount, well, we distribute at the request of. So, for example, for the community level, we reach out to all the fire chiefs every couple of weeks and say, how are you doing? What do you need? And they submit to us. And then as all three of you know, as most of you know, we're getting new community groups every day, plus ongoing working with. Just talked to Mary Magdalene House this morning about their unique needs with their clientele. Very interesting organization, what they do with showers and laundry services.
Yeah, they are incredible.
Yeah, so right now we're doing okay. We've been pretty successful in sourcing everything except N95 masks, but the state has been getting us those, and we continue to look for new sources, and we'll continue our operations as we go forward. I do want to take this opportunity just to switch. Any questions about PPE before I want to switch to one other thing?
No, but so according to your email, you have filled 582 orders for 304 organizations.
Yeah.
Those are impressive numbers.
Yeah.
So thanks to you and your team for doing all that you're doing as well.
Yeah, and I just want to mention, of course, we continue our mission with mitigating and responding to weather. And I know Ms. Christie will talk about that in a moment. But we did have some unique flooding and a unique rainfall, which I don't know how unique they are anymore, although it has been a couple of years. I think Diana can feel my pain on that since we've had one of these unique events. But that continues to be an issue. I'm sure Eric can speak to it as well. We did reach out to the communities. We've looking for infrastructure damage. We haven't heard a lot on that end yet. There were some businesses that experienced some flooding. I think a lot of the more extreme flooding was up in Westchester and Butler County. But we had a lot of high water. I do know that. And again, I think Eric can probably speak to that maybe a little bit better than I can. But we've had no requests for assistance from our local communities. But we continue to reach out to them. We did it yesterday and we'll reach out again today. So
Great.
That's what I have.
All right. Thank you, Nick. Any questions for Nick?
No questions. Thank you, Nick, for all you do.
Thank you.
Nick, the distribution and the amount of orders is extraordinary. So I know that you've been busy, and I just want to express my appreciation for the hard work and dedication from you and your team.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. All right, Diana. So we had a little bit of rain the last couple of days. I always know that it's a hard rain when I get water in my basement. My basement floor was covered, and I'm like, oh no. So talk to us about what is going on in the community regarding the rain and the flooding.
Sure. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Yeah, I wanted to first provide just generally the updates in terms of the numbers of reports we received. We're still kind of going through the data to try to understand this event. But as Mr. Crosley said, yes, we've, we get rain throughout the year, but every once in a while we get these more significant events. And that this certainly was in terms of the length of time and the sustained rainfall. As of This morning, we received 614 reports of sewer backups to our sewer backup hotline or online reporting. So those are people that have called in. They're not, when those reports are made, they're not necessarily sure what has happened, but we're glad that they call in and report those. And we have, as of about 11:30 this morning, that's my most recent data, we've completed over 500 investigations. So we've been able to go out. We had over 20 crews running the last 2 days to get to all of those calls and to respond as quickly as possible to figure out what happened. They were very widespread. I've been sharing some data, but again, kind of still pulling it all together in terms of where the hot spots are. It's, as of right now, in terms of the reports that came in, it was really widespread across our service area, across Hamilton County. Of the properties that we investigated, so about 500, we have referred 119 for cleaning services through the SBU program, meaning those about 20% or a little more of the properties appear to be sewer backups related to a capacity issue in the sewer system. What we see with the other properties, if we don't refer them for cleaning, it means we were able to determine in our field investigation that it was, an overland flooding or private plumbing issue. I think, as you all know, there was widespread flooding, street flooding, stormwater flooding. So we were seeing a lot of that in our investigations. And I'll try to break it down a little further. So again, about 119, 120 have been referred for cleanups and appear to be eligible. And that is a little more concentrated. They don't have clear numbers yet, but I'd say the concentrations were kind of in the north central portion of Hamilton County. So Wyoming, Roselawn, Pleasant Ridge, that area right there in kind of the center northern part of the city seems to be where we're getting more of the confirmed sewer backups, capacity related issues. Trying to dig into that a little bit more with the rainfall data and what's out there before we, can draw any conclusions from that. We do expect to get through all of the reports today with our crews running. And as you know, it's still raining, or it was a bit ago. But we try to look at things in like a 24-hour period. So we're categorizing 2 days ago as one rain event. And then if we receive any reports today or tomorrow, that would be a separate event.
Thank you. Is that different than you? It sounds different than usual. We don't, I think, often hear about Wyoming and some of the north central is Pleasant Ridge. Is that unusual?
But I was commenting on it because it appears a little bit unusual where that is. Yeah.
Okay, just curious. And as always, I want to reiterate that the SBU program is important to the city and the county, and we will, I don't want to speak out of turn, but we have always in the past unanimously supported the dollars associated with that program. So if there is a need, given the volume, please come back to this commission. I feel confident that we would be more than happy to provide adequate funding for that program, no matter what the numbers are. So thank you for the update, and thanks for all the work that you're doing in the field. Any questions for Diana?
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to thank Diana. She was sending emails out that we were CC'd on to keep us currently up to date of what was going on during the day. And so I thank you, Diana, for that and for your crew.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I have no questions or comments other than thank you for your work.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, Diana, you don't have any items on the agenda today. So thank you for that. You're like a guest appearance today.
Yeah, you get out of here.
Thanks again. I know you're busy, so thanks for jumping on.
No problem. We'll send another update, by email. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you. All right. So those are the presentations. So, Jackie, I don't know that we have any public comments related to this meeting. Is that right?
That is right. We have received a few public comments related to other issues that I have queued up for the very next meeting of the board, and they're all related to the same topic. But other than that, we have nothing.
Great, thank you. All right, we'll move on then to comments of commissioners. Commissioner Soro-Dumas.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a few comments. Just in general, I'd like to let those who are listening or watching that know that the BMV will be opening up officially May the 26th. And as the governor's office has said, try not to run down there and bombard that office. That there are a lot of areas that you can go online and try to complete the tasks that you're trying to complete. So just want to let the public know that that does open May the 26th. In addition, I had said last week, I'm sure, that I had sent an email to our tax commissioner to try to, there could be an extension on the property real estate taxes. That was about 3 weeks ago. I did call to find out if I would get a response on the extension. I still have not gotten a response, and that's been over 3 weeks. So I'm hoping I will get a response, because there are property owners that are still asking me, is there going to be an additional extension? There was one extension, and if that office is unable to do it, I would just like to get a response of why that can't happen to make a longer extension. And then lastly, yesterday at 5 o'clock, we opened up the Small Business Relief Program. I'm sure, Madam President, you will speak to that. So I encourage people to get on our website. The application has to be submitted by May the 27th at 5 p.m. And when in doubt, I would say fill it out and allow the committee to take a look at applications to see if you do qualify. And also, there's a possibility that there may be a second round for small businesses. So we don't know that as of yet. But just don't let the time run out before you get your information. And the commission is just very happy that we were able to disperse at least $5 million to the community to help out those small businesses. And that's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you. Commissioner Parks.
Yes, I am really excited about the Small Business Relief Program that we rolled out yesterday. So I, too, encourage everybody to apply. Look at the criteria and see if you fit. But I like what Commissioner Dumas says, that when in doubt, fill it out. That's cute. That's adorable. The other thing is, we thought that this week we would have a video ready for our hashtag 513survive. We are still working on it, so be patient with us. And we will roll that out next week in light of all. And so that I just want people to be safe. Take care of yourselves. Please wear masks in public. Continue to wash your hands and take care of each other. I believe that this is an opportunity to grow and to become better people, instead of looking at it as, if you feel like your rights are being violated, I will be so bold to say that you have never suffered oppression. But in light of that, just be careful, take care of yourself, and carry on. That's all.
Thank you. Yeah, I too wanted to comment on the Small Business Assistance Program rolled out, as Commissioner Dumas said yesterday. The application process will be open for a week, so it'll close next Wednesday. The reason for the open and close is because we're going to do a lottery system. So those that are eligible will become part of the lottery. And then as we pull the businesses out of the lottery, it'll be randomized by a computer. They will have to provide the necessary documents to make sure that those businesses qualify for the program. Remember, the restrictions are related to the Department of Treasury's guidance. These are federal dollars in response to COVID-19, and so there are some restrictions related to this funding. But we, of course, hope that lots and lots of businesses apply. You can be a business of 1 up to 50 to apply for these dollars. And if we do find that we become overwhelmed, then I think all 3 of us have already said that we would be open to another tranche of money for this purpose. I want to thank Holly Chrisman, the Assistant County Administrator. She has been working day and night for a long time on this program. And thank you to my colleagues and others in the community for helping inform what this looks like. We had a couple of iterations of this. I think we're rolling out the best program with all the comments and suggestions from the 2 of you and others. And so I'm excited about that. Also, Emily Carnahan and David Edenfield, they're both with Planning and Development, worked very hard to make sure that this went live yesterday. And there is going to be quite a bit of work to do now as the applications come in. So I know HCDC is going to be part of that. Planning and Development is going to be part of that. And so very, very excited about the folks that will benefit from this. So anyways, thanks to everybody that was really involved. We're looking forward to having that money go out the door. So that's all I've got. With your deference, commissioners, let me ask you a favor. Would you mind if we moved a couple of the by-leave items forward now, the ones related to the Commission on Women and Girls?
Okay.
Is that all right?
Sure, it's fine by me.
Yeah, I had invited some of the commission members to join the meeting, or not to join the meeting, but to watch the meeting, because we're passing some resolutions related to the recommendations that came forward from the Commission on Women and Girls. And so I wanted to get to that sooner than later. As you both know, as people know, we've had this commission now for a couple of years, and we had really great recommendations in both iterations. So what we've got in front of us today by way of by-leaves are some of the recommendations that rolled out last year. They rolled out to the commission, to us. We then put it in a resolution. All 3 of us voted in favor of moving forward. And so this is the product of that. So these are by-leave items numbers 15, 17, and 18. 2 of them are related to safety and gender-based violence. And then 1 of them is related to pay equity. So with your indulgence, while all of the commissioners on the commission signed off and were supportive of the recommendations, we did have 2 committees that were specifically working on these items. And so I would like to very quickly just give a big shout out to the women and girls on those 2 subcommittees. So they were Aisha Armstrong, Desiree Bennett, Katie Croson, Mary Gartner, Holly Hankinson, Adriana Kovac, Ann Megerly, Andrea Poling, Mary Westrich, and Ava Surendorf. So those were the commissioners that served on the subcommittees. Big thanks to them. So Jeff, I know you're going to walk us through these, but 1 is related to reasonable accommodations for folks that have suffered gender-based violence. 1, again, is about pay equity, and the other one is about training the workforce so that we are, and according to Frank Spataro, the head of HR, these are pretty progressive policies, and we're at the forefront. And it's just good to hear it, right? It just feels good to be on the forefront of issues like this. So Jeff, could you please walk us through what these by-leaves do?
Yeah, I'll walk you through each of them briefly here. So again, I do want to thank for these particular, if you remember back in, I think it was November at our meeting in Woodlawn when the board passed on these policies. And so there's more of them than this. So we have an entire team of folks, Frank Spataro, Lisa Webb, Holly Chrisman, Bridget Doherty, others who are working on these various policies. These 3 today just happen to deal with human resources and human resource policies. So the first one is in your packet or on your screen as by-leave 15. This is a resolution modifying section 4.0, the leave section, to include subsection 11 concerning leave for county employees who are victims of domestic abuse and or sexual violence. So essentially we want to ensure that that victims of domestic violence or gender-based violence or sexual abuse are accommodated for in our HR policies, and that they have the ability as sanctioned by the organization to take the time they need, both to, number one, to ensure their safety, but number two, to ensure that they have the time that we as an organization give them the time to assist in their recovery. And this relates to both employees and also household members of employees as well. So this particular policy grants up to 12 weeks of unpaid leave on a rolling 12-month basis. Employees can use paid leave to accumulated paid leave to substitute for that time. And also it says that the county will make reasonable accommodation when there are issues related to domestic violence or sexual abuse or gender-based violence that are impacting employees' job performance. There's also a section that talks about reinstatement after leave, and that the position or a similar and equally paid position will be available to the employee upon their return. So there's a guarantee of that as well. So with that, I believe Frank is on the line as well. So if there's any questions on this particular policy, we'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, the administration recommends approval.
Are there any questions or comments?
Thank you, Madam President. I did have questions that Jeff was able to answer for me, and I'm fine with the by leave.
Commissioner Parks?
Yeah, I'm just so delighted with this. Having worked at a domestic violence nonprofit for years, I am fully aware of the suffering that takes place and the healing that is necessary. So I'm really proud of the Women and Girls Commission and the work that you and your team have put into it, Denise. This is significant, it's important, and it helps women in their quest to become whole. So just thank you so much. Thank you. I'm happy to sign on this.
Yeah, and thank you for mentioning the team. Alex Salinzer, my chief of staff, and Nate Simon, who was my previous aide, did a lot of work getting this commission together. Fatima Ba, who is now been deployed to public health to do contact tracing, so she's not with me at the moment, but she has just done a fantastic job trying to move some of these issues forward. So a big shout out to her as well. So let me then move that we approve of the resolution modifying Section 4, leave, to include number 11 concerning leave for county employees who are victims of domestic abuse and or sexual violence.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Thank you. Jeff, let's go to by leave 18 because that also has to do with this topic.
Sure. So we'll move on to by leave 18. This is entitled Resolution Addressing the Direction to the County Administrator and Director of Human Resources to implement a comprehensive workplace training and education program to prevent gender-based violence and promote a safe work environment, and modifying Section 6.14 of the Personnel Policy Manual, preventing violence in the workplace. So this resolution does two different things. Number one, it adds Section I into our workplace violence policy, which is Section 6.14 of our Personnel Policy Manual, which requires the real seminal aspect of this is it recognizes domestic, gender-based violence and sexual abuse as something that, while not necessarily workplace violence, it recognizes it as a condition in the workplace, and most importantly, assigns a duty to act to both employees and supervisors in a different context based upon the identification of stressors in an employee who might be exhibiting signs of one of those types of abuse. So it incorporates that into our personnel manual. This Section 6.14 of our personnel policy manual is also a policy that we consider a key policy and procedure that people have to read and sign off on as acknowledging upon hiring, and also every year at their time of review. So this is something that will be continually in front of employees. And secondly, the resolution also supplements our current workplace violence training with specific examples related to gender-based and domestic violence as well. And I know that Frank and his team in human resource development have already made progress on that. So that is by leave 18, and the administration would recommend approval of that as well.
All right. Yeah, and thank you. I know Frank's on too. Thank you, Frank, for your work on this and the team's work on this. Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Madam President. The training component is so important. So I just was really glad to see that included in the by leave. Thank you. That's all I have.
Commissioner Park?
My comment is bravo.
I know.
Wonderful.
All right.
Delighted about this.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to move that we approve of the resolution addressing the direction to the county administrator and director of human resources to implement a comprehensive workplace training and education program to prevent gender-based violence and promote a safe work environment, and modifying section 6.14 of the personnel policy manual preventing violence in the workplace.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas,
Yes.
Commissioner Parks.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. And the third one has to do with pay equity. Jeff, walk us through this one.
Yeah, so as the board is aware, the county's policy is to compensate fairly based upon race, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, religion, national origin, ancestry, age, or disability. This particular policy says that, so it acknowledges that again, and goes further by saying that we will routinely survey the compensation system to ensure that our pay rates are equitably set based upon these populations. So this kind of goes further than just our normal assessment of the compensation system for market-based compensation purposes. But this says that as a rule, if we find that we are in essence paying one of these classes of individuals at a different rate than is average or normal for their particular duty in the county, that we will take affirmative action to fix that. So this is not dissimilar to what we did a couple of years ago, back in I think December of 2018. The county received a report from the University of Cincinnati after a study on our pay equity as it relates to gender. There was a study that came right before that, based upon the entire municipal, the municipal region of the city of Cincinnati and beyond, that showed that women were being paid at a rate of 80 cents on the dollar to men. So the board asked that we follow up internally. That study found, as it relates to gender in the county across all pay grades, that we were at a rate of about 97 cents on the dollar, but the University of Cincinnati could not quite determine whether that 3 cents was really statistically significant or not. It could have been related to other issues such as experience, education, etc. So I think the board, I believe, was pretty pleased to find that at least here in Hamilton County at that point in time, and remember these are point in time surveys, that we were doing pretty well as it related to the issue of gender equity and compensation. But recognize that we don't want to rest on our laurels. This particular resolution says that we are going to do that type of assessment for all of these different classes of employees on a routine basis. So I think I talked with Frank, we're probably looking at 2021 as the next time we would tee this up, which would give us about a 3-year interval between looks. So with that said, I'd be happy to answer any questions, and otherwise recommend approval.
So, yeah, thank you, Jeff. Yeah, this one, we did, and I will be honest, I was surprised. No offense to anybody, but the county is doing really well when it comes to pay equity. And the UC helped us do the research. I was delighted to find that. And it's the good news. But as you said, that was a moment in time. And so this policy says that we not only believe that that's an important thing to understand, but we're going to check it every now and again to make sure that we are still doing as well as we were. And there's, 3% room for improvement there. So close is good, but it wasn't equal. close. So anyway, this I think is important to make sure that the work is ongoing. That these recommendations aren't just for 1 year, they're for the life of the organization. So again, thanks for your work on this one. Any comments or questions to this resolution?
Thank you, Madam President. I think Jeff said it when he said we may key this off in 2021 because we recognize our budget constraints, but we know that there needs to be a policy in place to indicate that there may be some inequities, and we plan on solving those inequities, but we're not at this point going to be increasing pay for employees, but just taking a look at where they stand on a regular basis. So I think this is a great policy.
Thank you. Commissioner Parks?
I'm happy about it, and there are no questions or comments.
Thank you. All right, so then I will move that we approve of the resolution modifying Section 3 compensation, subsection A, to include number 4, stating the county's policy to compensation various employee populations that comprise the workforce fairly and equitably for the work they perform.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas,
Yes.
Commissioner Parks.
Yes.
Thank you. And thanks again to the Commission on Women and Girls, past and present, for real. They did all the work on this and made these the priorities of the Commission. So it's been a real pleasure, and I'm delighted that we're starting to move some things forward here in Hamilton County related to those recommendations. So thank you too. Thanks to the administration, Frank and Jeff in particular, for working on these policies. So, all right, we'll move on to the rest of the agenda. We do have a regular agenda item related to the engineer. I see that.
Madam President?
Yeah, we have another by
We
leave.
have one other by leave.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to save it, but yeah, we can. Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so this is I think 15 by leave 16. So this relates to resolution approving and journalizing the final agreement between AFSCME, Ohio Council 8, Local 1768, and the Board of County Commissioners. This is a finalization and journalizing the tentative agreement that we entered into with this group back on April 9th. This finalizes that. This is effective through December 31st of 2020. The administration recommends approval.
Right. So we've had many conversations about this one in executive session. I have no comments or questions. Commissioners, any comments or questions?
Thank you, Madam President. Only to say I thank Jeff and our lawyers and AFSCME for working together to come to a conclusion and an agreement.
No
Mr. Parker?
comment. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Going to move that we approve of the resolution approving and journalizing the final agreement between AFSCME Ohio 8, Local 1768, and the Board of County Commissioners, Hamilton County Job and Family Services, State Employment Relations Board case number 2019-MED-09-0758.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas,
Yes.
Commissioner Parks.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry about that, Jeff. I just skipped over your comments is all I did. So anyway, it's your. I apologize. Anything else?
Nope, nothing else. That'll do it. So thank you, Commissioners.
All right, Eric. Sorry about that. All right, so we've got an engineer's item here. Item number 1.
No problem. You were just excited to get to the engineering part.
I was.
Yes, you were. And I did want to update you a little bit on the flooding. As of Tuesday, we had 9 county roads closed. All but 2 of those have been reopened. The 2 that are still closed are in Springfield Township, high water from Winton Lake, backwater from that. So we continue to monitor that. As soon as the water goes down, we'll get those roads open. As far as the item today is, it's an extension of the engineering agreement for Markley Road and Zion Hill Road are both landslides that are being covered by FEMA reimbursement. The original contract was for preliminary engineering. This is for final engineering and right of way.
All right, very good. Are there any questions or comments?
Comments?
Eric, where are the roads closed in Springfield Township?
Currently, we have Miles Road and Lake Ridge Road are both
Okay,
closed
thank you.
right outside of Winton Woods.
Thank you. No comment.
Very good. All right, I'm going to move that we approve of regular agenda item number 1.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks, Eric.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. And Todd, I don't know if you're on here for this one as well, but thank you for being on. We have consent agenda items 2 through 14. Are there any questions or comments related to these items?
Thank you, Madam President. I had a few questions that I gave to administration, and I'm very satisfied with the answers and clarification that I've received. So that's all I have.
Okay, Commissioner Parks?
No questions or comments. Thank you.
All right, very good. Then I'm going to move that we approve of consent agenda items 2 through 14.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
All right. That concludes our regular agenda. We do have an executive session related to MSD. Are there any other comments for the regular agenda? All right. Seeing none,
No.
I'm going to move.
Madam President, I didn't know if you wanted to mention to the public about our meeting for next week, that we won't be having a meeting next week.
Yeah, we are going. Thank you for the prompt. We are going into our summer session, and so it's important, I think, to note that we haven't been doing staff meetings because we've been doing everything virtually. We're going to go back to doing staff meetings on the same week that we have our regular Thursday meetings. I personally have missed the staff agenda meetings because it's where we get to flush out issues and have a bit of a dialogue with the administration and staff and others to talk through some of these issues. So I feel like we're a little bit of a disadvantage when the three of us have an opportunity to do that. And so we're going to start doing staff meetings again on Tuesdays and then have our regular agenda meetings on Thursdays. And we will go to the every other week summer schedule starting next week. So it's a holiday week, and so it made sense to start. So we won't have a meeting next week, but we will have 2 meetings the following week. We'll have the Tuesday staff meeting and then the regular meeting on Thursday. Thank you for the reminder.
Those are June 2nd and June 4th, first meetings after this week.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Jackie. All right. Okay. So with that, I'm going to move that we go into executive session pursuant to RC Section 121.22G3 to conduct a conference with an attorney for the public body concerning MSD.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we are ready now.
Okay. All right, I'm going to move that we go out and session and adjourn. Second. Mr. Dreehouse? Yes. Mr. Summer Dumas? Yes. Mr. Parks? Yes. Thank you. Thanks.
I was wondering if we could wait to go live until the commissioner got here, but we can, you're fine.